y'all, welcome to Dots and Beyond. I'm Beth. Today we're going to check in on my reading. We're going to talk about what I read in April. We're going to talk about what our Grimm read is for May. I'm also going to do a little bit of a book haul. Let's go ahead and get started. Here is my cover page where I recorded what I was reading in April. Came into the month reading Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. This is the Bullet Journal University book club pick. I'm behind on this one. This is why I don't join book clubs. This is why I don't host a book club. Because I'm such a mood reader that when I'm forced to read a book, then I struggle with it. I'm gonna finish this one. I'm just super behind on it. I have other things that I read during the month. It was a great reading month for me. And then, of course, our Grimm read-along for the month was The Breman Town Musicians. The Breman Town Musicians is a heartwarming tale of 4 animal companions, a donkey, a dog, a cat, and a rooster, who, facing adversity and rejection, set out on a journey to become musicians in the town of Breman, of course. Through their wit and teamwork, they not only scare off robbers, but also find a new home where they can live happily ever after. I've made some notes here. We'll talk a little bit more about the Breman Town Musicians when I'm setting up for May, but let's go ahead and see what I read in April. First up is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I did this via Audible because I heard that the audiobook was second to none, and I agree, it is superb. Project Hail Mary follows Ryland Grace, a sole survivor on a desperate mission to save humanity from extinction. Stranded aboard a spaceship with amnesia, Grace must rely on his ingenuity and scientific knowledge to unravel the mysteries of his past and find a solution to Earth's cosmic threat. With exhilarating plot twists and gripping scientific detail, so much scientific detail, Weir delivers a thrilling tale of sacrifice, resilience, and the power of human intellect in the face of unimaginable odds. I gave Project Hail Mary 5 stars. I've come this close to going ahead and adding it to my list of 5-star faves, of which I will choose my favorite book of the year at the end of the year. Not quite sure I want to stick it there yet. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. The first line of the book is the question, what is 2 plus 2? And I hate math, but I do know what 2 plus 2 is. There is so much science and so much math packed into this novel, just like The Martian. I saw the movie for The Martian. I never read the book. But I loved every minute of it. I loved every detail. I loved every blurb. I loved that our protagonist, even though he wakes up with this amnesia, he finds himself saying things like, gosh darn it. He's like, what? I can't even cuss? It's hysterical. And of course, as he begins to uncover his memories, he realizes that he's a junior high science teacher. That's why he doesn't cuss. It's because he would never want to set that model for his students, who probably have worse language than he does. But it's just delightful and tongue-in-cheek. In the midst of all of this adversity, there's got to be some humor, or you don't make your way through it. I'm not going to go into too much more detail than that. If you read this, you might get a little bit of spoilery, not a whole lot, but a little. I highly recommend it, and again, I do highly recommend the audiobook. It is one of the most excellent audiobooks that I have ever listened to, and I'm glad that I took that recommendation and went with it. I have a coworker who found out I was reading it and wants to compare notes, and they have different feelings about the ending than I do. You know, humanity. We don't always see eye to eye on things. While his rating might have been closer to maybe 4 stars, mine's definitively at a 5. This month has just been the month of science fiction. I finally finished, y'all, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which if you've been here for a minute, you know I plugged away at it in November, and I plugged away at it a little bit in December as well. And I finally finished it. To finish it, I had to stop annotating. So you see I stopped annotating about halfway through. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is an interstellar journey filled with diverse characters and profound explorations of identity and belonging. The novel follows the eclectic crew of the Wayfarer, a tunneling ship tasked with creating shortcuts through space. As they navigate perilous routes, the crew members form deep bonds and confront their prejudices, offering a heartwarming and thought-provoking exploration of humanity's place in a vast, wondrous universe. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet was yet another 5-star sci-fi read for me. I get it now. The people who talk about Becky Chambers and her character building, the fact that she can get so much character detail into a fairly short book, relatively, is astonishing to me. Now, if you want to peek at when I do annotate, I give each book its own color code. Here, the red was characters, the yellow was atmosphere, green was specifically humanity, dark blue quotes that I wanted to remember, and the gray is relating to the politics of the world that we were in. I was also making a note of characters. This is a clear sticky note that is in here, so it's not actually written in the book, and that's how I annotate. I always give a specific color code to the book that I am reading. I think most of these had to do with characters or humanity. There's a lot of green in here talking about how humanity adapts to space, how they're keeping time in space, all of those kind of different things, because I'm that nerd. And again, not nearly as scientific. We don't care about the science in The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It just is explained a little bit, but it is not explained to the nitty-gritty detail that Project Hail Mary is, which I'm grateful for because my brain was just exploded by the time I finished Project Hail Mary. I wrote, "This is science fiction with a social focus and it works so very well." It isn't what I would call feel-good sci-fi. I've seen that term thrown around because things still happen. There are some stakes. They may not be as high stakes as some other science fiction tales, but it's definitely there. People, not just humans, all races, make good and poor decisions. Life happens, even on a small ship on which the story predominantly unfolds. Racism exists, must be confronted and overcome. I wrote that it is a lighter space opera with an eye on how our future could evolve into one of acceptance. This is my first Becky Chambers and I'm hooked. And then I just went ahead and read the second one. While it took me a really long time to get through The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, it did not take me a long time to get through A Closed and Common Orbit. Set in the same world, but not necessarily following the same characters, A Closed and Common Orbit delves into the lives of two extraordinary characters navigating through a galaxy of challenges and self-discovery. Sidra, an artificial intelligence, finds herself in a humanoid body after being forced to leave her ship, grappling with questions of identity and freedom. Pepper, a resourceful engineer with a mysterious past, offers guidance and support as both embark on journeys of personal growth and understanding in a beautifully crafted dual timeline narrative that explores themes of consciousness, friendship, and the meaning of home. I, again, loved Closed and Common Orbit. I felt like the ending was just a hair rushed, and so I gave it 4.5 instead of the same 5 stars that The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet did. And because I had already stopped annotating Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, I didn't annotate Closed and Common Orbit at all. I just read it. These 2 books right here are 2 of the books that I purchased in late April 2023 on my first inaugural Rock Cities book crawl for Independent Bookstore Day. There's a haul up on my channel from a year ago if you're really curious to see what that was like. Last weekend I did the second annual Rock Cities book crawl. It felt full circle that I was just getting around to these after buying them a year ago. And then the next book that I am reading but have not yet finished is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. I read Assassin's Apprentice in early 2023, expected myself to immediately jump into the series as a whole because the Robin Hobb universe is a whole situation. And I didn't. To break up my science fiction a little bit, I decided to jump back into some fantasy. And so I'm currently reading Royal Assassin. I am on page 233. So that is where I am with that. And hopefully we will wrap it up in May. Okay, and that means we are ready to set up for May. I'm just gonna turn the next page and put some washi tape down. I did change out my tabs. I don't know if you noticed. I had a peach one maybe here and a pink one here. And I was changing colors month by month, but I kept losing the tabs. And so I've gone with something that matches the book a little bit better. I already had them on hand. They're the same brand as the others. I just decided to use the same set. So I've put my tabs back in and we are ready to set up for May. I have also found my wider washi tapes. So we are going to wallpaper this page with this washi tape. And I was going to use this bubbly one. Maybe I still will. I don't know. Let's look. Let's get some of this down on the page first. This is from the washi tape shop. I've had it forever. It's still pretty sticky though. It's doing a good job of maintaining its structural integrity. I wanted to use it last month, but couldn't find it in my move. I found it today. It was amazing the other things that I also found along the way. I'm going to leave a little bit of space because I'm going to put a different color washi tape down that middle. I want to use the bubbly one as a nod to the character of our next story, not necessarily because there is a playful aspect. There's also a very sinister one. In the life cycle of washi tape, this is ancient. This is probably from one of the very first packs of washi tape that I ever bought. I'm going to take off a pretty big chunk here because this might not stick to anything at all. It might surprise me. I really don't think I've ever used it. I've used the other gold washi tapes that came in the same maybe 5-pack. When I decided to do my first bullet journal, it was very simplistic. There's a video somewhere talking about old journals that's got a peek at it. I just went to Michael's and bought one thing of gold washi tape and one pen and one accent color, which was green, and decided that this is what I was going to use to make my bullet journal work. I think all of those other gold washi tape, are all of them gone? They might all be gone. I don't know for sure. It's a little loose. Now you can always glue it. If you don't know, you can just get out some glue and glue your washi tape down if it's not sticking. That is definitely a possibility that you have open to you. It will work. And I have had to do it in the past. And maybe I'll have to do it for this bubbly washi tape, and maybe I won't. All right, we're also gonna stick a piece down this side. All right, so before I reveal our character or our story for May, tell me, did you read the Breman Town Musicians? What did you think of the Breman Town Musicians? If you hung out in the comments at all, you would have found out that to our German viewers, the Breman Town Musicians is not one of the lesser known stories. Now, I have been to the town of Bremen in Germany. I was very young. I was maybe 13. But for those of us in America or Canada, I guess it's not necessarily one of the most well-known stories. Some of the things that I put in here is that it does fall into the genre of the animal fable, where animals have human-like qualities and obviously they speak. I put that as a tale of resilience, cooperation, and finding strength in unusual locations. Each animal faces their own dire situation, but finds hope and purpose in forming new community with fellow outcasts. The third thing that I put is that there's a satirical look at the robbers. They definitely make the robbers sort of the scaredy cats and this comedic element to the story when the musicians come barreling into this house and scare the robbers away. It's one of my favorite parts of the story, is that specific moment. The themes that I wrote down were identity and purpose. Each animal is rejected due to some sort of shortcoming, age, etc., whatnot. But they find their own talents in this found family situation. And then, of course, that's the fifth thing that I wrote, was home and found family. Not only do they find family amongst these other animals, this crazy amalgamation of animals, but they literally find a new home to share it with. So it's one of my favorite of the, say, lesser known, because it hasn't been adapted 5,000 times on screen. There are a lot of children's book adaptations in many different languages, probably because it has these elements of rising to overcome obstacles and found family and finding a home. It's just really a warm-hearted story, and yet it's hysterical as well. So it's one of my favorites. I had to stick it in, and I'm glad we got ahead and read that one and got it into our read-along, which means it's a month that we would alternate back to a more popular of the Grimm's fairy tales. Gonna break away from the princesses, and we're gonna have ourselves a little visit with Mr. Rumpelstiltskin. I did not print this on sticker paper this time. That's one of those things that I still can't seem to put my finger on exactly where that is. But I will link down below where you can both read or listen to Rumpelstiltskin. Sometimes I also link a YouTube video of somebody doing a narration of said story. So if you would prefer that, it'll probably be an option as well. One of the things that I am going to try out, and it is set up and linked down below, is a read-along on Storygraph. I really got that in there crooked. I will link that down below if you want to join that read-along where we can comment on Rumpelstiltskin in the forum. I just set up a forum for general comments because it's such a short story, and you're welcome to come over there and hang out with me while we talk about Rumpelstiltskin. I'm also going to grab some other stickers and things to put on this page, give it a little bit more interest. I'm not going to do a lot. I also have these black and gold botanical stickers, and since we've been sticking with the botanical theme, that's what I'm going to use. It would be fun if some of these looked like wheat or straw to go along with the Rumpelstiltskin story, but alas, they do not. That's okay. I don't have anything in that vein. See, that washi tape was really easy for me to accidentally rub up. For this month, I'm going to use a blue. I've used a different color every month. There's no rhyme or reason to that decision at all, other than the fact that when I started, it was Sleeping Beauty and it was all feeling very pink. And so I went with pink, but I can't keep doing the same color, so we're going to change it up just a little. And then, as we know, I am currently reading Royal Assassin. I'm still reading Building a Second Brain. We're going to peek back at the front of my journal, and right in here on the 12 stories that for May we are doing Rumpelstiltskin, if I can remember how to spell it. I always want to leave out the second T, Rumpelstiltskin, but it's there. Tuck that back into my pocket. I have added things to my index, so there's Closed in Common Orbit, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, Project Hail Mary. All of them ticked off another letter on the alphabet, which is just Kismet, because I'm not really trying super hard to beat my alphabet challenge. I am up to 12 reads for the year. I am behind if I'm going to read 54 books in 2024, so we'll have to see. Plus, we're almost to the mid-year point, and I still haven't read a memoir, and I still haven't read a classic. I didn't pick up anything else on my backlist. I did add Wayfarers to my series tracker and put those two in there, and then this is my Realm of the Elderlings tracker, so again, I'd already read Assassin's Apprentice, and I'll be able to fill in Royal Assassin hopefully next month. My book haul. Let's talk about it. Like I said, I went on the second annual Rock Cities book crawl. I live in Little Rock. Just north over the river is North Little Rock, and they are two separate cities, hence the Rock Cities book crawl. This was my passport of all of the bookstores that I went to, and I quite literally went in this backwards direction. Yeah, exactly. So going from my house and then looping the loop that you need to get to all of these, the best way for me to do that is start here and go this way and then head back home. And at Wordsworth Books, which is one of the few independent bookstores in town that sells new books, I had a plan to buy Judi Dench's book, Shakespeare, the Man Who Pays the Rent, because it had only come out 2 days before, and I thought, well, surely Wordsworth will have it. I'll be able to pick it up at the book crawl. It wasn't anywhere in the store. I finally asked, and I had waited to buy it specifically so I could get it on Independent Bookstore Day, and the owner of the store, she said, I am so sorry. I severely underestimated the popularity of that book, and I only ordered 2 copies. They sold out immediately. I immediately got 2 more in. They sold out immediately. She said, so now I have a whole box of books coming, and we can hold one for you if you want us to hold one for you. So that'll count in my memoir range if I can get that book. I was trying not to buy it off Amazon or whatnot when I knew I was going to be doing this bookstore crawl. And so I had to pivot in the store and find something else, because I do make it a point during the book crawl to try to purchase something at every location. If you watched my plan with me last week, you'll know that I'm going into May on a no-buy. And part of that reason was because I knew I was buying books that weekend in April. So April was not going to be a no-buy, but now we're going to stop buying books for a little bit. I bought the third and fourth books in the Wayfarer series in Wordsworth's book. So I grabbed Record of a Spaceborne Few and The Galaxy and The Ground Within. Will I read them immediately? To be determined. It's just funny that I bought the first 2 books at the book crawl last year, and now I've bought the second 2 books at the book crawl this year. In the store, you got to do a scavenger hunt. If you completed the scavenger hunt, you were able to pick up an ARC, an advanced reader copy, off of a whole book trolley of ARCs that they had. Now, saying advanced reader copy doesn't mean it's a book that's immediately coming up. It was a whole collection of advanced reader copies that the store has received for probably a couple of years. I went ahead and picked up Same Bed, Different Dreams by Ed Park. This in no way, shape, or form resembles the final cover for this book that came out in 2023. If I can remember, I'll grab it and stick it right here. It has a Los Angeles Times Literary Award. It's sort of an alternate timeline Korea situation from what I have read, but it was the most interesting sounding of what was left on the cart when I got to it. The next stop on our tour is Pyramid Books Custom Framing. It is also the home of an art gallery. It is Black owned and operated. It was a new find for me last year. I didn't know it existed, and I absolutely fell in love with the store when I was there. And I also fell in love with the artwork of a specific woman in the store who makes handmade cards. And I got a card for my mom for Mother's Day. I've done that again. That has these exquisite African prints on it. She does source them from Africa. If you're new here, I grew up in Kenya, so these patterns are very near and dear to my heart. This is my Mother's Day card for my mom, who doesn't even know about this channel, so she's not going to know that that exists until she gets it in the mail. I had also made up my mind in my science fiction kick that it was time for me to start reading Octavia E. Butler. And I went into Pyramid thinking, clearly, they are going to have some Octavia E. Butler in this store. Last year, I bought the collected works of the poet Audre Lorde. So this year, I was like, surely I can find some Octavia Butler in the store. Not a one. There was a single, and maybe people had just beaten me to it. And I thought, well, okay, we've got some used bookstores coming up. And so I did manage to get a Butler later on in the crawl. But at the Pyramid Books, the only thing that I bought this particular time around was that Mother's Day card. Next up is Paper Hearts Bookstore, which used to be a book truck. And then they opened this teeny tiny brick and mortar in this cute little area of town. This is where I bought the first 2 Becky Chambers last year. And because I'd already done that, I went in there wondering, well, what am I going to get while I'm here? And of course, I've been on a little bit of a T. Kingfisher kick. And so while I was there, I went ahead and picked up A House with Good Bones because I don't have it. It's on my to-do list. As I'm reading through Teen Kingfisher, I just think she spins a modern fable like no one else can right now, except maybe Neil Gaiman, when it comes to the sort of the modern fairy tale as we're reading through these Grimm fairy tales. If you want a modern fairy tale writer, T. Kingfisher is your person. All right, and then Beautywood Books is our newest used bookstore in town. It is LGBTQ plus owned and operated, and is in a little old house, and is just a cute used bookstore. They were way busier this year than they were last year, which made my heart super happy. But I was having trouble finding anything. My cousin, who was with me, purchased a tome. She got like the complete reference guide to Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. It is the size of my complete works of Shakespeare. Let's just say that it is enormous. That's what she got. I went ahead and I took a chance. And now that I've bought it, I'm really wondering what I was thinking. But I went ahead and picked up The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Now, if you've been here a minute, if you were with me in 2023, I DNF'd the Night Circus. I don't love the Night Circus like many people love the Night Circus. I found it very empty and slow. and I thought, while I was in the store, let's give Erin Morgenstern another chance. This might sit on my shelf for a while. I'm not promising we're gonna jump into this anytime soon, but this is what I picked up at Beautywood Books. And then it was at my last stop, which is literally called The Bookstore, which is a great used bookstore in North Little Rock. It used to not be great. It is rebounding. This is where I picked up Kindred. Now, I had really sought to pick up Butler's Parable of Sower first, but I found this and thought, let's just go ahead and do it. It has some annotating in it and some highlights, which I find fascinating to see what other people have decided to call attention to or write notes about. It looks like it's been pretty well worn, maybe read several times by different people. This sticker might even be like a school sticker. Looks like it was a library book maybe at one point, which just makes my heart happy. I love when library books get second life. So this is where I decided to pick up my first Octavia E. Butler. Was on the book haul. I did add all of those in right before I began filming. I had not noted them in here yet, so those are all added there to my haul page. My release radar hasn't changed, neither has my DNF. I'm still behind on my Grimm watch. This is where I said I almost came in and put in Project Hail Mary as one of my 8 favorites. I think it's still a little too early for me to start populating this. And then my book of the month for this month, I went ahead and picked up The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, and I got it on audio because I'm behind on reading physical book of the month books. If I do listen to it, read it with my ears, it'll be my first Leigh Bardugo. I've really never been drawn to any of her books until this one came out and the synopsis started to drop about this one. So maybe it'll be a gateway drug to Leigh Bardugo and I'll go backwards from there. But that's what I picked up for my book of the month pick. And that gets us back to getting ready to read for May. Holler at me down in the comments. Let me know if you're going to join our read along over on the Storygraph of Rumpelstiltskin. Feel free to leave your thoughts about Rumpelstiltskin down in the comments below. If you're not feeling a comment and you just want to drop an emoji down in there, drop some sort of gold yellowish emoji to represent Rumpelstiltskin spinning straw into gold. And if you liked this video, you know what to do. Go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.